Hello, my name is Brianna Soldano, and my presentation is on the perception of movement through contemporary art. I will be discussing three major aspects of my work here as an art major at Wagner College: the junior gallery show, the senior gallery art show, and my senior thesis. It is through my exploration of these works which ultimately led to my conclusion of my thesis, which was on phenomenological installation in contemporary art. My junior show idea stemmed from a Paul Auster novel, which questioned the human being itself. A quote from the novel read, "We imagine the real story inside the words, and to do this, we substitute ourselves for the person in the story, pretending that we can understand him because we understand ourselves." Well, this idea is very deep in itself. I dove a little further, and I wanted to portray the concept of what emotionally moves the human being, either the mind or the heart. And that's, in these works, the red represented more of the heart and the blue, the mind. I tried to bring these conceptual aspects to the visual world. I made these sculptures out of nylon and wire, and I worked with the twisting and curving lines that they made through space, aiming to use emotional movement as well as the physical movement of the shape. And after analyzing a lot of the internal qualities of an individual to get this work, I then moved to the figure itself for my senior art show. In the senior gallery show, I took the human form and began to deconstruct it. You see here there's 10 canvases, each oil painted of body parts. As an artist and a dancer, I am drawn to the movement of human form. So branching from that, I wanted to experiment with the male and female figure, as well as size and color. Taking my knowledge of dance, I was able to incorporate dance gestures into a composition that would move the viewer's eye around the work. I isolated parts of the body that would keep each form in its own area, but allow the eye and the mind to fill in the negative space. I played with the juxtaposition of the angular canvas in relation to the curvature of the body, and as you can see from the smaller picture, it's gigantic size. These figures had a presence in the room when you walked in, and that's what I wanted. It was not until the piece was actually hung that it was complete, making it an installation piece. And with the addition of music, it felt as though the figures kind of were dancing right off the canvas. The element of sound added another sense to the installation, touching upon the concept of phenomenological installation, which my thesis was on. Oh, it was entitled Vice Versa. Okay. So my senior thesis was on phenomenological installation in contemporary art. And try to say that a lot of times in a presentation. It's not easy. Phenomenology is the characterization of sensory qualities of sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. And with the use of phenomenology, art has moved from a mere observation to more of a sensory type of experience. Shown along the bottom is an exhibit I visited at the Museum of Modern Art. This is Ernesto Nito's installation entitled Nevdanga, and the participant enters this enclosed area of translucent stretch fabric, which is quite slippery, I may add, when walking around inside. There's aroma of clothes that were placed in these hanging sandbag figure things, and that were both hanging and on the ground. And by the time I visited this exhibit, there was also a nice smell of feet. That probably wasn't intentional, but everyone had to take their shoes off to walk around inside, so that was just a little nice addition. Its womb-like presence evoked the human body, bringing a lot of open questions on human interaction and its direct relationship between genders. What do our bodies say about us, and how do we use that to function in everyday life? These questions in itself are one of the many provoking concepts amongst phenomenological installation art. And it really requires the participant to be an active viewer and not just simply look at a piece of art like a painting. Through the senses, one is brought to the world of the mind with the use of memory, imagination, or just simply asking questions, which sometimes there's no answer to, which is good and fine. Quoting from the Themes of Contemporary Art book, different readers bring their own worldviews to their reading and looking, which skew interpretation. No text has any single correct interpretation. Meanings change with the reader, the time, and the context. So everyone's view basically is correct, which is great. Who doesn't like that? So it's through the capability to open your mind to contemporary art that gives way to a better understanding of yourself as well as the world around you. And it's through the culmination of these three projects that I have done myself that allowed me to perceive movement in more of an innovative way. So I can only hope that when you all look at a piece of contemporary art now, you'll have the ability to open your mind and see the many possibilities that the work embodies. And that's it. Thank you. Is there any questions? Questions? Yes.
Where do you get the creative inspiration for a particular piece? I would imagine there's a number of different directions.
Yeah, it's hard. Actually, that you'd think that that would be the easy part, but that's actually, for me, one of the most difficult parts is to get something that I want to have enough passion for, which is why I think I use dance for my senior thing, because that's one of my biggest passions is dance and art. So being able to combine the two really helped me form a way to, just a backbone kind of to the art. Yeah, on the top.
How did you decide what the materials to use in each one? I mean, I noticed obviously you worked with canvas and you worked with
sculpture. Yeah. My junior year, I kind of branched out to something that was a little less, I was a little less familiar with, and that was more of just throwing myself into a situation that I didn't know if I could do or not. And that was the result, which I ended up really liking, and it helped me a lot, like just grow, being pushed in a direction that I wasn't so comfortable in. I know and I'm more comfortable with oil paint, so I kind of went back to that after already experimenting and pushing my boundaries and taking that and brought it back to the oil paint, which I personally love, so I wanted to do that my senior year. Yes.
Last question.
Which of the two works, the junior year sculptures or the senior year paintings? Do you feel which one embodied better the idea of movement that you ultimately were satisfied with? Which one do you think expressed your idea of movement better?
I think to a more uneducated viewer, the junior show showed a lot more movement just with the swirling wire. It actually was right in front of your face. Especially one of the ones, it kind of swayed a little bit in with like the movement of the air. So that one, my junior show probably was more in your face movement. The senior show was of more, you had to kind of think about it, and you might not have even realized you were thinking about movement because your eye was just moving along the canvases, and that isn't necessarily something that someone would think, oh, I'm looking at something that's a movement piece, that it's static. So that was a little bit more for the educated viewer to understand that movement is involved in that piece rather than my junior show. So it's a little bit different within each.